can literally smell the vitamin B in this. I mean, it's just ripe, is a way to put it. As far as I know, it's safe for any avian species, but you have to really, read the instructions and make sure you're not going to overdose, because you can overdose on a good thing, and I don't care what brand it is or what thing it is or whether you're making your own. If you make it too potent, it'll do more harm than good. Especially like if you put this in the water instead of the food, and then that's their only water source. They can get too much sodium and other things in their bloodstream, and they can legit die. That being said, used properly the way it's designed to be used, it is far safer than any antibiotic or anything like that, and it works a lot better. All it's doing really is boosting the immunity. Got all different things here on the back that it, lists, which is nice to see exactly what's in it. I prefer to know exactly what's in it, so it's nice that they do that. Things like this are especially handy when you've got either flock has some kind of little virus or infection. It's best to nip it in the bud though, especially something like bumblefoot or something. It's really better sooner rather than later. But I've used this on the chickens when they had fatty liver issues, and it helped them heal from that. I've used it also on the chickens when they caught a little chicken, like just a common respiratory virus. There's no vaccine for it, so I use it on that for them. Unfortunately, most of those chicken respiratory viruses, once they catch it, stays on the farm forever, and they get immune, but they still can have like asthmatic rebounds and things the rest of their life. And so if any of them have one of those rebounds, I'll give it to them. Fortunately, there's way too many different viruses like that there's no vaccine for. You can't really. This is like your only defense. Even though they don't normally die from those viruses, if you hear crackling lungs, it's probably not a good sign, right? Especially when two things are hitting them at once. Once I had the chickens get like two things at once, and then it overwhelmed their immune system. And really within a week of using that stuff, they were back to normal. So it was actually killing off some of the chickens. They were just too overwhelmed, and after starting that, it saved the rest of their wee little lives. And it was just like, all they needed was a little immunity boost. I don't care how isolated you try to keep your chickens, I don't care how careful you are, you're going to get problems. If it's not a virus, it's going to be something, else, like I said, fatty liver or some kind of bacterial thing or fungal thing or something. Because even though you can keep them, immaculately clean, there's only so much that you can control in the environment. And there's just certain things that they are susceptible to, and that eventually you're going to have to deal with. They had fatty liver issues at the same, and back then I did not know that just how easily they could get that, so I was feeding them way too many cookies at the same time of a little respiratory virus, and it was just too much for them, and they just started kind of dropping dead. So this stuff literally can be the difference between life and death. Like I said, it doesn't matter, as long as it's a reputable brand. It doesn't matter the brand or anything. You can even make it yourself if you really want to, out of different herbs and things. But it has to have you know, the right ingredients. Obviously, it has to have stuff that, you know, is going to be, is going to work for what you need it to work for. So, you know, but yeah, it's all natural. It's just vitamins, minerals, and maybe a little bit of herbs and stuff. I will say, what I showed you earlier, that would be kind of difficult to make yourself, right? I mean, you think about it, and all that stuff in there is like it's like an exact science to get everything right, ratio wise. But there could be some more simplistic herbal remedies, like Con Herb Company makes a lot of different KAN makes a lot of different herbal remedies, really old-fashioned herbal Asian remedies that are just phenomenal. They've got everything from immunity boost to even like parasitic infection and things like that. And I'm telling you right now, you know, you really do have to research whether or not everything is safe for chickens and things when you get into stuff like that, because they're you know, con herb is usually making stuff for people, not animals. So you have to double check and make sure that it's not something that, you know, but once you do that, I mean, sometimes you can use it in unison with some of these other things, at least use it maybe in replace of, and that focuses more on the herbs themselves, just the raw natural herbs themselves, than it does any kind of like infusion of, you know, vitamins and minerals and things. You know, that would be a lot easier to either make yourself or... What are you doing? Are you stealing the quail food? Yes? Yeah, you're stealing the quail food. That's the quail's food. You're being a little too bold. Yeah. What are you doing? What you do? Snowy? Seriously? Stealing the quail's food. Get off. Took advantage of the fact I was filming. So anyway, yeah, it depends on which way you want to go. But like I said, if you're making it from raw herbs, as long as you got the right herbs, I think that would be a lot easier to actually, you know, conjure than the thing that I just showed you a minute ago with all those different, you know, vitamins, minerals, and things that you have to, you know, that's a lot more precise than just mixing, let's say, 8 herbs together. Okay, so like I said, even that though, you need the right ratio and the right dosage and things. So I'm not saying just do things blindly. I'm saying, you know, really research what you need. You might find that it's actually cheaper just to buy it already made, you know, especially if you have to buy the herbs. So let's get into the quail, aka quaviary now. Let's see what we got going on in here. Okay, so the quail really benefit from this because they need a lot more vitamins and minerals in their diet than the chickens do. A lot of times their feed isn't, unless you get feed that's specifically for quail, their feed isn't always the best in terms of vitamins and minerals. In fact, we've got a quail and dove feed. This is what that is right here. Let's see if I can. We've got quail and dove feed, and it's got some of that stuff that liquid that I mixed in it. So that's why it looks a little bit wet from the poultry cell. But yeah, as you can see, it's nothing fancy. This is what they eat in the winter time, but in the spring and summer, what we give them is actually quail layer, which has got, the layer feed's got a lot more vitamins and minerals in them naturally. But since they don't need to be laying anything, you don't have to worry about calcium or anything. This is the kind of the stuff we feed them in the winter. It also has got more fat content, which they need in winter time, just, you know, to overwinter better. So that they've gone a seed diet now, but eventually we'll switch them over. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, they just naturally need more nutrients than the chickens do. Really more of everything, more protein, more iron, more. I mean, there's a lot of things they need more of than the chickens, and that's because in the wild, they would be eating a slightly different diet. They're also higher energy than chickens, so they burn off that energy quicker. And of course, anything that's got higher energy needs fuel to replace it. Today I also mixed in something from Corn Herb Company. It's some little immunity boost as well that I sort of mixed in. I give them every once in a while. I'm telling you, that smells so good. I want to eat it. It smells like dessert. So it's very interesting when you put stuff like that in there. That they've got a liquid version and a solid version of that. I put the liquid version in of the corn herb, and man, it smells. I wish you could smell this. It just smells so good. So a lot of people say that the quail only live like a year or two, right? Well, I'm telling you, if you give them the proper nutrition, we've got quail that are over 2 years old now, and they've not slowed down at all. If you've got the proper nutrition and you give them a nice free range environment like this that's nice and clean, then, and by that I mean they're not wallowing in their own feces, all that makes a big difference to their longevity of life. And honestly, I don't know yet because we haven't had them as long as the chickens, but I'd imagine that potentially they could live as long as 5-6 years, judging by what I've seen thus far. I'll let you know in 3 or 4 years from now. But I mean, it's sad really, because most people put them in tiny wee little shoulder to shoulder cages, and of course they're not going to live long in there, and they only give them the bare minimum to survive. But they're actually quite strong little things had you give them a chance and provide them with what they need. What you doing, Dusty? You hoping and wishing and praying for the quail food on the other side? Take that as a yes. So basically, I think everything in moderation, right? You do too much of even a good thing, like I said, and it can be a really bad thing. I just want to stress that as well. So have some common sense with it. I follow instructions, but we've never had to use any antibiotics or anything because of how we're doing it this way with natural. Honestly, like I said, any time that I've tried antibiotics in the past, they don't work. Everything's resistant to stuff, and they don't really work. This actually works better than, and a lot of times this is at least equal to the price, if not cheaper, to antibiotics. So this stuff is powerful, and there's no reason to be pumping them up full of fake hormones and antibiotics and things. It's far more natural and cost effective just to do it the way that we're doing it here. We've got a lot of chickens. A lot of people say they really essentially stop laying after 2 years. Well, we've got a lot of 6-year-old chickens that still lay an egg in laying season. Will still lay an egg probably every 3rd day, which is not bad considering in their prime they laid an egg either every day or every other day. Typically, most of our breeds of chicken that we have they're not known for laying every day like Leghorns or something. So they lay less anyway. But they haven't slowed down like people say they do. So you receive what you give. You're going to get back what you give. You're going to be rewarded with, a chicken that, can sustain for longer, can lay for longer, can provide you a service for double the time than she would have otherwise. It even has helped, I've seen it help fertility in roosters. So, and because you can save them from elements and things that they may, any kind of ailment that might be detrimental, because you can potentially save them from dying, you don't have to spend extra money to, restock your flock. So I don't see why even industrial places that don't give a fuck about, let's just face it, don't give a fuck about the hospitality and dignity of their animals. I don't even see why those places wouldn't do this, because to me it seems like a win-win. But I'm sure they'll argue with me.